Okay, so we have a couple. So we have a few people who have. So that's really good to know because that means you guys are familiar with the terms like what miqat is, what Arafah is, what Muzdalifah is, what Mina is. So I'm not going to go into so much detail about the you know the finer details of Hajj because if most of you have already covered that, then I'm going to just brush over that and go over more feminine related rulings, inshallah. But let's get started nonetheless. Okay, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي ربي زدني علما آمين. So we're going to be starting off with Ihram and Hajj. And the very first thing we need to understand is our personal preparations. What are we doing in order to prepare for this trip? My group specifically, which is the XB group, is flying on the 23rd. So we still have about 2 weeks, but I think some of us here may be flying out earlier. So it's good to just keep in mind that that the very first thing is renew your intention. Have a good intention. You are performing this Hajj. Most of us here is probably our first time. So the intention first and foremost should be that I'm doing this for the pleasure of Allah. I'm doing this for the pleasure of my Creator. And secondly, the intention should be that I'm performing Hajj just for forgiveness. Third, it's a journey that is supposed to completely like rejuvenate your iman. It's supposed to give you a second chance. It's supposed to change your perspective even. So when you come back from Hajj, you should not be the same person. There should be a higher level of taqwa. There should be, more your character, and it's supposed to transform you basically. So you are on a journey of dua. So write a dua list with your own duas and the ones that others ask you to make for them. The list will help when you're overwhelmed by emotion or tiredness, but need to remember these duas. So you do not need to make dua in Arabic. Okay. There are masnoon duas, which of course recite them because there are du'as that have been prescribed by Allah Ta'ala in the Quran, and they are du'as that have been prescribed by our Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So of course those du'as have value, and of course recite those du'as. Those du'as, recite them during tawaf, recite them during sa'i between Safa and Marwa, because that act of worship of doing tawaf and sa'i is no less than 2 hours, maybe even 3, depending on how busy it is. So that's just 3 hours of dua. So sometimes we can be overwhelmed by tiredness, like this mentioned. So having the masnoon duas, having a booklet, having I just pack a booklet, masnoon dua or masnoon dua. So that helps. But other than that, have your own personal dua. There may be things that you really, really wish for that are really close to your heart. So have that dua, make that dua when you first see the Kaaba, make that dua when you are in front of the Kaaba, when you're doing tawaf, when you're doing sa'i, especially when we are in Muzdalifah, Mina, Arafat, because there's nothing else to do other than dua. There's literally, you can do tilawat, of course, but it's primarily just dua. There's nothing extra. It's not like we have to cook. It's not like we have to clean. It's not like we have to, we're preparing anything. There's nothing. We're not working. We shouldn't be working. We should not be taking our work with us. We shouldn't be on our phones. It's literally just you talking to God. So have your list of duas and do remember the people that asked you to make dua for them. Learn how to pray the Janazah Salah. So one thing you'll quickly notice in the Haramain Sharifain, the two holy mosques, is that there's Janazah prayer after every Salah. There's a Janazah, and it's not just one person. There's multiple people who have passed away, and it's after every single Salah. So here living in America, we don't really get to attend funerals. Not as regularly, but you do get an opportunity to pray the funeral prayer. So if you can, try to learn the dua. The janazah prayer is very simple. It just a few seconds. It takes just few seconds, learn the dua, learn the way how to pray it, and inshallah you can get the reward and benefit. This is very important. Practice abundant sabr. Things will go wrong, so be mentally prepared and make the decision to be patient. Do not panic and enjoy it. Take positives from it. Like I said, this journey is supposed to transform you, and no transformation comes without hardship. Anytime you, uh, anytime, whenever you even read stories or you see of people of value, it's not because they had an easy life, not because they had things were just given to them. They're with hardship, with tragedy, it really makes a person of value, a person of good character. So Hajj is not easy. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's not easy. It's very hard. It's very hot. We're going in the middle of summer, and it's the desert, and it's we're not going to be staying in a five-star hotel. Mina, Muzdalifa, Arafat are not five-star hotels. There isn't, even if there is AC, it's not going to be like keeping all of us super comfortable. The food is not going to be Michelin star. So we have to be very, and it's not just the food and the climate. It's also something can also be frustrating. You will come across different personalities, people with different temperaments. Just remember, we're not there to socialize. We're there to really.
Uh, I'm sorry to
Sorry.
interrupt you, Sister. Okay, your screen was frozen for a lot of people. They were saying in the messages. So it sounds like the slide. We weren't sure if you're on the first slide or maybe your screen was frozen, but it looks like you just moved to the second slide. Is that correct?
I'm on the slide that says personal preparation, and the third point. I'm on the third bulletin.
Perfect. There was a little bit of delay in it changing. That's all
okay.
it was. Thank you.
Do you guys see now?
Yes, people can see this now.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so I'm gonna go back. Okay, so yes, practice sabr, practice patience. It is very easy to lose your patience there. I've been to Hajj before, alhamdulillah. I've seen people get into arguments, very nasty, heated in ihram. They get into really, it gets into really ugly situations, and that takes away all the reward. So it's really sad if you're going to spend $14,000, $15,000, go across the world, be in this heat, do all these sacrifices, take off from work only for your Hajj to not even bring about any reward. It would be very, very tragic if that happens. So please be patient. Please be patient with yourself. Please be patient with your spouse. Please be patient with your group members. Please be patient with your guide. Please be patient with even the other people that are coming from around the world. You will come across many, many people who are very different. Just remember, this is our time to introspect. This is our time to look within ourselves. And this is our time to pardon. Always pardon, always overlook. Okay? Okay, next slide. Guard yourself from that which can pollute your intentions. Be cautious about thoughts, feelings, activities, discussions, and people that could take away from Allah's pleasure. Yes, so we will almost likely have our phones on us, but try not to be on social media unnecessarily. You don't need to film, you don't need to document everything that you're doing. You don't need to FaceTime everybody all the time, because it can distract you from the connection that you're trying to build with Allah Ta'ala. Even so, your thoughts, activities, feelings. We are women. We are. Sometimes we may come across people who gossip, and I've seen this myself. I've seen people gossip in front of the Kaaba. I've seen people gossip while they're in ihram, and I've seen people gossip right after they performed umrah. So this is something that is common, where people don't understand. They don't control their tongue. They don't control their speech. I don't know what the justification is for that, but I've seen it. This is something that I've seen firsthand, and it's very easy to fall into this trap of shaitan, where you say you make like a negative comment about somebody, or you are showing attitude to somebody, or sometimes in the tents of Arafat or Muzdalifa, Mina, some women end up bullying other women, and it's very, very sad to see that, where they start forming cliques in Hajj. They start forming cliques, and there's like some sort of, it's like high school. It's like their competition. This is all wrong. So if you need to be alone to stay away from that, then you'd rather be alone than be with company that takes you away from Allah's pleasure. Okay, don't pack a lot of clothes. Do if most of us are obviously packing clothes. Pack light clothes, meaning like cotton, things that are good for this weather. It's very hot. It's 100. I just came from Saudi. I was in Saudi ago. It's so hot to the point where you feel nauseous. It's very hard to be under the sun because the sun is very intense. If you want, pack an umbrella. Um, Pack an umbrella. For outside of
I'm so
ihram, pack
sorry
some.
to disturb you again, but which slide are you on? Are you on the second slide right now?
My screen is not. Okay, let me.
Yeah. So there's a little bit of hold on. For those who are joining us, inshallah, questions will be answered at the end. So for those who have their hands up on the queues, I'm just going to go ahead and unraise them. If you have any questions, you can put them in the chat, and at the end of the presentation, Sister Rafia will answer as many questions as she can in the allotted time. Okay. Yeah, your screen isn't presenting for now. I don't know if
Is it presenting now?
okay, it's just adding up right now. Okay, perfect. And it's on the page that starts with guard yourself from that which.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Okay, perfect.
You see it?
Yes, that's the page I see.
Okay. Do you see the like I'm using animation, so do you see the information flying in from the bottom?
No, but I see the in-flight entertainment when foreigners push. Okay, now it went.
Okay.
So I think there's just a lag in you know, so we'll just if you don't mind, people are already asking okay, so it looks like people are saying it's specific users internet, so for some people it's going fine, for some people it's not going fine. So what we'll do is, again, this is going to be recorded inshallah, and we're going to share the link, so if anything you can look at that time. For now, I don't want to keep disrupting Sister Rafia, and we'll try to get this information to you afterwards so you can join at that time or read it at that time. Sorry about that.
No, it's okay. So like I was saying, don't pack a lot of clothes. Yeah, we're going, like my group specifically, we're going for 2 weeks. So probably 5 days, 5 or 7 days in Makkah and then the rest in Medina. So it's a very short trip. When you are packing, pack clothes that are of lighter material like cotton or linen. There's no need for jeans or jackets or sweaters. And hijabs, even, it should be of light material. I don't recommend silk or even chiffon. I mean, personally, chiffon would be too hot. I would recommend cotton, very soft materials. Even your undergarments. Do pack a lot of underwear, especially for those women who have a lot of discharge. If you are a woman who's prone to discharge a lot, then do take a lot of underwear. Try to take a lot of panty liners. Even with your bras and stuff, do pack cotton, pack comfortable undergarments. What else? If there's really no need for socks unless you want to wear leather socks. I recommend slippers and sandals. There's no need really for sneakers unless you're trying to hike up the Cave of Hira, which I don't recommend in this weather. It's very hot and there's really no need for it. The Sahabas didn't really do it, so it's not particularly sunnah. But yeah, besides that, pack sunglasses, an umbrella, sunscreen for outside of ihram, and a hat. You could wear a sun hat. That would actually protect you a lot. Sun hat. If you want to pack a mini fan, you can pack that as well. Pack a light bag that you can keep your shoes in. Your shoes will most likely get lost if you keep them in the shoe rack. So I always keep my shoes with me. Always try to keep your shoes with you. Um, so yeah, try to pack like a string bag, a light string bag, and of course maybe a water bottle that you can have you can fill with zamzam every now and then. And then guard your salah at all times. Learn about salah of the traveler, which is qasr. So we do know that when we are traveling more than 48 miles, and if we're staying somewhere for less than 15 days, then our salah gets reduced to two. So our dhuhr gets reduced to two, our asr gets reduced to two, and our isha gets reduced to two. Witr is still wajib. You still have to pray witr. So we would, so when we are traveling, so most of us might be having to take a connecting flight to the city that the flight is from. So, pray along the way. Don't neglect your salah. If you need to pray in the airport, pray in the airport. Most of us are taking Saudi Airlines, if not all. Saudi Airlines does have a prayer area in the back. I mean, I flew with them a couple of years ago. I don't know if things change now, but as far as I know, there's a prayer area in the back. So there's no excuse for us to be missing prayer. We should be able to pray in the back, where and then there's a TV monitor that shows where the qibla is, because the plane is always moving, but they tell you where the TV shows you where the qibla is, and people do pray in the plane. Avoid in-flight entertainment. Start avoiding these distractions so that it'll be easier to shun them in Medina or Mecca, where TV is available in your hotel room. So even from now, stay away from TV shows, movies, things that may pollute our hearts and our minds. Get into the habit of listening to tilawat, get into the habit of reciting the Quran, get into the habit of doing dhikr, get into the habit of waking up for tahajjud. Do exercise, so walking, exercise walking, 15 to 20 minutes a day, stretching, because it is a lot of walking. I promise you that you will maybe lose at least 5 pounds there. It's a lot of walking. Please do remember to drink lots of water. Zamzam water is available everywhere. Please do drink it a lot, because it's very easy to get a heat stroke. It's also very easy to get dehydrated. Um, what else? So yes, please. So when we are even flying into Mecca, there is no need to be watching shows on the airplane or movies on the airplane. Our hearts should be busy, and our tongue should be wet with the dhikr of Allah while we're flying into Saudi Arabia. Even when we're flying back, our hearts and our minds and our tongue should be busy with the dhikr and the remembrance of Allah. We should stay away from anything that may pollute our minds and our souls and our hearts. When foreigners push and shove, be patient, compassionate, and firm. Maybe they're not trying to be rude. Maybe it's just normal behavior in their country. So this is something that really stands out to us Americans, because in America, we have a lot of personal space. Even when we're standing in line for coffee, even when we are in the train station, even when we're in jam-packed areas like New York City, we don't typically bump into one another. Everyone has a little bit of personal space. In that part of the world, that's out the window. There is no personal space. You will get shoved. You will get pushed. There may be people that will even push you with their fingers. So you will get touched a lot. When you're doing tawaf, there may be people that will push you. When you're doing sa'i between Safa and Marwa, there may be people that will push you. It's very easy to lose your patience. It's very easy to turn around and say, don't touch me, but they're not going to even understand you, because they might not even understand English. So please be patient. Be mentally prepared to feel a lot of body heat. Be mentally prepared to feel a lot of physical pressure. Just understand that it's not coming from a bad place. It's just there's a lot of people going in at the same time, and it's a lot of cultures coming in together. Okay, ihram. So now we're going to get into ihram. It is equally part of the sunnah for a woman to shower before ihram, just as it is for a man. So the suggested thing is that you take a shower before you exit your home. So before you head out to the airport, to the flight going into Saudi, before that flight, be it you're going from the hotel or be it going from your house, take a shower and exit to the airport. The Prophet of Allah ﷺ said, if the menstruating woman and the one in nifas enter the time they should bathe and enter into ihram and complete all the rituals like others except that of the Kaaba. So if you are on your period going into Saudi Arabia, you will still take a shower and you will still make intention for ihram and you will still don your ihram. Okay, so you will still do that because what you cannot cross the miqat, you cannot cross the boundary of the sanctuary of the holy city without being in ihram. You have to be in ihram. So even if you are on your period, or even if you are on your postpartum bleeding, like if you just gave birth and you decided to visit the Holy Land, you would still need to take a shower and you would still need to be in ihram. So like I said, you would take a shower when you're exiting your home, and then you would put your ihram on the airplane, unless you want to put it on while you're still in America. But typically, you would put because the pilot or the the airplane announces that we are coming close to miqat, the hajis may start putting on their ihram on. So that's when you go to the bathroom, you make wudu. After you make wudu, you for men they start changing their clothes, they start putting on their towels. For women, we don't really need to change. Like I said, if you think like your underwear is a little dirty, change out your underwear, change out your pants. Um, if you have uh, like a specific like a burqa that you want to wear or like a specific hijab, you can change into that. After you change into that, you will pray 2 rakahs, salatul ihram. After that, you will then make your intention that you have entered into ihram and that you will be performing umrah, and you will start saying labbaik Allahumma labbaik. So you will do all of that, but when you land, you will not perform tawaf, and you will not go inside the masjid because we are not allowed to go inside the masjid. So you will wait until you are done with your period to then perform that umrah. Okay. Um, and let's say you got your period a couple of days. So let's say you landed and you were not on your period, like you were clean, you performed your umrah, and then a few days later Hajj is starting. So in that case, and so Hajj starts on the 8th of Dhul Hijjah. So let's say you got your period on like the 7th night. So you got your period right before the Hajj days. You can still wear your ihram, and you have to still wear your ihram. But you will go into Mina, and you'll go into Muzdalifah. You'll do Arafat. You'll do everything normally. You won't pray, of course. You won't fast, and you will not do tawaf. Okay, and we're gonna go into details of that in a minute. Okay. It is makruh for a woman or a man in ihram to aggressively comb their hair, causing excessive amounts of hair to fall out, or to brush unnecessarily. This is something doing so. This is because doing so may lead to hair being cut, which is one of the forbidden acts when someone is in ihram. So you can brush your hair, just brush it in a very light, gentle way. Do not be super aggressive. You don't need to, use all your force. Comb your hair very gently, very softly. Okay, you are not responsible for the dead hair that falls out. That's fine. Whatever dead hair that falls out, that's okay. But for you to be pulling out your, like, if you have gray hair or something, you're pulling out hair, you'll be penalized for that. So your Hajj, your reward will be reduced, and you that's not allowed actually. So you will have to end up paying a penalty. So you cannot do that. You cannot start plucking out hairs. You cannot start threading your upper lip hair, or if you have like hair on your chin or something, you cannot pluck that out. You can't pluck any hair out. It is permissible for the woman to wear any women's clothes she pleases, which are not attractive or resemble the clothes of men, or are tight fitting, showing the dimensions of her limbs, or transparent. So I mentioned this before. Keep the clothes modest. Make sure it is Islamic. What is recommended is a burqa, an abaya, a long dress, something light colors. Black in this heat, I don't recommend black because it's super hot right now. Try to stick to lighter colors like white, or lighter colors, and wear and make sure the clothes are not transparent. Make sure that they're not see-through, that you can't see what your skin underneath. Okay, make sure that it covers your whole body, it covers up to your wrists, making so some people, they wear like even burqas or shalwar kameez, like desi clothing, but the sleeve comes up to here. It comes up to just 3/4 of your arm. This is not allowed. Your whole arm needs to be covered up till the wrists. Even when it comes to your legs, the pants or the burqa needs to come up to your ankle. It needs to cover your entire leg. And yes, your neck needs to be covered. You cannot show your neck. You cannot show your ears. Your hair needs to be covered, of course. It's permissible for a woman to wear jewelry while she is in a state of ihram. So yeah, you are allowed to continue wearing your earrings, your necklace, your ring, your bracelets. This is all permissible. There's no problem. You cannot wear makeup though. You cannot wear makeup. So you cannot wear like mascara or lipstick, um, foundation, concealer. This is not allowed. Intimacy, so sexual intercourse is prohibited. You cannot engage in that. It's kind of like fasting where you stay away from that. Kissing and touching with desire will mandate fidya. So you can hold your husband's hand, of course, because I mean that's probably going to be the only thing that will keep you from getting lost. It's very important to stay near your mahram because it's very easy for other groups to come in and just interrupt the flow. So you will actually need to hold on to your husband, but that's different from a desire, right? It's different from like foreplay and things like that. So kissing and touching with desire is not allowed, and if it does happen, then you will be penalized, and the penalty for that is a slaughtering of a sheep. If you can't afford that, then you would have alternative ways which can be discussed further if the occasion arises. Okay, prohibited actions in ihram. So we're going to go into further details. Hunting. This includes the killing of insects, so like killing mosquitoes or flies. These things, when you're in ihram, you are supposed to be like a monk. So you're supposed to be like in this state of, like in a very sacred state. You're supposed to be in a very like you have to be very very resilient and resolute, and your mind needs to be very strong. So you cannot act out of emotion. You can't just start acting like recklessly, right? So even insects should be protected. So mosquitoes, flies, things like that should not be killed. Marriage, this probably will not apply to us, but you cannot get married when you're in ihram. I don't imagine any of us getting married in ihram, but if any, there are people who perform their nikahs in front of the Kaaba, but that is outside of ihram. So if you are planning on getting engaged or getting your nikah done in front of the Kaaba, that has to be outside of ihram when you are done with the Umrah and the Hajj. The use of perfume and scented soaps. So you cannot, when you are in ihram, so when you are flying, or when you are not in ihram, like when you just take a shower, you can put perfume on. Well, for a woman, we shouldn't be putting perfume on, but you can still kind of like put itar on or something under your abaya. But once you're in ihram, you cannot use perfume. You cannot use scented lotions, scented soaps. You cannot use shampoo. You cannot use body wash. You can't use anything scented. Okay. So even when you are in Arafat and Muzdalifah and Mina, because it's kind of like a camping trip where you're going to be camping out there and you will be taking some toiletries, the toiletries that you will buy will be unscented. Make sure to buy unscented toiletries. I think Target has, maybe Walmart even has. So make sure to get unscented soaps for Mina. Yeah, mostly Mina and Muzdalifah. You will need your own soap. The bathrooms don't come with soap. Um, Extracting teeth, cutting nails. So you cannot cut your nails, your toenails or your fingernails. Looking in a mirror for vanity. So looking in a mirror, you're constantly looking in a mirror. You're constantly trying to make yourself look beautiful. This is not allowed. That's like I said. It's a very monk-like state in ihram. It's very different. You have to be very aware of your inner self. And you have to be very your mind has to be you have to train your mind to think a certain way. Carrying of weapons, this includes like pepper spray. Yes, it is a foreign country, but most of us are going with their mahram, so it should be okay. But yeah, carrying like pepper spray or small knives or anything like that is not allowed. Extracting blood, this includes checking for this includes like, yeah, so like if you This includes like get thinking blood, like getting injection. Um, uh, this also includes like checking your sugar. Um, but there may be a concession to that. I'm not exactly sure. As far as I know, that's not allowed. Oh, if you are diabetic, you cannot check. But there may be a concession for that. A mufti sab on the ground will be if someone does have a specific question regarding checking your sugar if you are diabetic, inshallah mufti sab will be able to answer that. Okay, talbiya. There is a consensus amongst scholars that the sunnah regarding women is that they do not have to raise their voice when chanting the talbiyah. So when we are saying labbaik Allahumma labbaik, we are not going to be shouting it like the men. We do not need to. You just have to say it as loud enough just for us to hear it. All she is required to do is to raise her voice enough so that she can hear herself. There's consensus amongst the scholars that the woman should not jog in tawaf. Instead, she should do the tawaf walking. Similarly, women are not required to jog during sa'i between Safa and Marwa. So you are not going to jog when you're not supposed to be jogging. The men jog. So the the in tawaf, men do some sort of like the strut. There's it's something to do a sort of strut. They don't necessarily jog in tawaf. It's more like a strut where they have to kind of walk a certain way. Women don't need to walk that way. Women are just gonna walk normally. So I there was a sister that had a question that during tawaf, will she lose her husband? Your husband is not going to be jogging during tawaf. However, for sa'i, men do have to jog. They have to jog for a couple of feet. You are not really going to lose him. He could always you could always carry like a maybe like a something distinct like a if you want you could have like a little scarf or something that like something bright. Like I know like the Indonesian and Malaysian Hajj groups, they have very distinct things. Like they have something tied to their book bag, or they have something tied to their like you can spot them from like a mile away. So if you're afraid that you might lose your husband while he's jogging between Safa and Marwa, he could always pick something up, like a yellow napkin or like a yellow a scarf or something. He could bring it up to the air, signaling to you where he is exactly. Like I said, I just came from Saudi. My husband and I performed Umrah recently. He did the jogging between Safa and Marwa. I was, even though he went ahead of me, I was still able to find him. It's not that difficult. But if you really think it's like, if you are really, I mean, we have phones now. It's not very likely that you will get lost because both you and him will have phones, so you could always contact each other. But if you are really afraid, then just go when there's not many people, which will most likely be around 9 a.m., 10 a.m., or even 11 a.m. when the sun is really, really at its peak. It is not desirable for a woman to kiss the black stone nor to touch it except at those times. At those times when the tawaf area is light or empty, like during the night or at other times. This is because in her crowding the men, it will bring hardship upon herself. So it's actually quite impossible to touch the black stone without getting hurt. It is, especially during Hajj time, it's going to be very, very hard. You do not need to. It is a sunnah. It's not a fard. So if you have to kind of weigh the cost to benefit, right? So my opinion is you can just kind of motion your the sleeve. You can motion your kiss to the black stone. You don't necessarily have to go to it because your hijab might come off, your clothes might get ripped, you will get hurt. Sometimes, like some you because there's such a it's so crowded and there's so many people. Sometimes it's very hard to even breathe. If you are an older woman, um, or even if you're a young woman, it doesn't matter. We're not as strong as men, and even we might want to entertain the thought that no, like men will give, men will give leeway, men will give us priority. They'll see, oh, it's a sister, let her go ahead. But no, in Hajj and Umrah and Makkah, that doesn't happen now. And men do not give the priority to women that go ahead kiss the black stone. It doesn't. It's very, very, very tough, and everyone's trying to do it all at once. And it isn't like oh, okay, women can just go in. You're a woman, so please go ahead. I'll go in later. No, it's not like that. It's very, very competitive, and it's very dangerous. Okay, if a woman is on her period during tawaf ifada, okay, so tawaf ifada is the tawaf that you do after Muzdalifa. Okay, so Muzdalifa, the morning you wake up from Muzdalifa, it's Eid day. So you will then throw the stones. After you throw the stones, you come back to Makkah, and we are all required to do tawaf ifada. Now, if a woman is on her period at that time, the first option is to always wait. Wait until she becomes pure. So she will skip the Wafi Fada, she'll go back to Mina and she'll complete her Hajj, which is another 2 more days. And then after she becomes clean, um, she can do qada, like she can make up that Tawaf Ifada after she becomes clean. So that's the first option. If you are, let's say you're like at the end of your period and you know for sure that you're going to become clean before your return flight, you know for sure that there will be a window of opportunity for you to make qada tawaf ifada, then you have to wait. You have to wait until your period is done. Then you will take a shower, and then you will take a shower, and then you will do tawaf ifada, and then you will get out of ihram. Then you will exit the state of ihram. However, if you know that no, this is the beginning of my period, by the time I'm done, it's gonna be my time to go home, or it's gonna be like time to go to Medina, and then from Medina is my return flight to America, and like there's no way that your period's gonna be done before then the Sharia allows a concession, and that is you will take a shower. So this is something very unique. This is not something. This is not a general rule. This is the exception to the rule because there's no other option for this female here. So the rule, and this is the one and only time that this can be allowed, is that she will then take a shower. She will wear a brand new pad. She will wear a brand new underwear. She'll make sure she's in a very clean state, and then she'll perform tawaf. Okay, she'll perform tawaf, and then she will get out of the state of ihram, and she'll continue her hajj. The next couple, it's another 2 more days, and then the hajj is done. And then after that, tawaf al-wida is the farewell tawaf. That's the very last thing you do before you leave Makkah. So be it you're going home or be it you're going to Medina, that's the very last tawaf. However, if you are still on your period, tawaf al-wida is waived because tawaf al-wida is not a part of Hajj and it is not a part of Umrah. It is just a farewell. It's just a goodbye tawaf. So it's not mandatory and therefore it is waived. Well, it's sunnah, it's a emphasize sunnah, but because it's not a part of Hajj and it's not part of Umrah, it's waived. So you will not perform tawaf. You will not perform tawaf al-wida. You will miss it. You will skip it if you are on your period. Okay, it's a different story if you already took a shower and you're clean. Then of course go ahead and do tawaf al-wida. To exit the state of ihram, a woman will have her hair trimmed and not shaved. So shaving is specifically for men, and for women to get out of ihram. So we become halal. So we exit the state of ihram after Muzdalifa and after the throwing of the stones and after tawaf al-wida. Tawaf ifada. You go back to your hotel room and you have somebody else cut your hair. So if you're going with the mahram, typically you would wait until he becomes halal again. You would wait until he gets his hair shaped because typically men get their hair shaved by barbers. So the barber will shave his head, he will become halal, and then he could come and trim your hair. Or you could have another woman trim your hair who is not in ihram. So if you're in ihram, you can't cut anybody's hair. And you can't cut your own hair. You can't cut anybody's hair and you can't cut your own hair. So you have to wait for someone who is not in ihram, be it your mahram or be it a woman, for them to cut your hair. And it's just a few inches. You're not going to get you don't need to cut a lot of hair, just a few inches, for you to get out of the state of ihram. Okay, we are done with this presentation. Any questions? Because I wanted to show you ladies a video after this.
Just to give you a time check, Rafia, we're at the 8:45 mark. They're having a continuous roll of questions coming into the chat, and I can definitely play moderator and kind of go through them for you. I know there was a video you also wanted to go over. it's up to you. We've got 15 minutes. Would you like to show the video, or can we just share the video with people later on and add it
Yeah,
to
I
like
can
our
share the
YouTube
video.
segment?
The video is just over Hajj, which I think most of us ladies here already have the rundown of Hajj, and I could always post it on the group chat.
Of course. And by the way, we had the sessions for the religious parts of the Hajj in multiple different languages, kind of breaking down the stuff in English, Arabic, Hausa, Urdu, Bangla. So we covered a lot of different languages, and all of these recordings, all of these seminars were recorded, and the link have been posted in all the WhatsApp groups. If you read through the messages that I have
Yeah.
put there, you should be able to go ahead and watch any of those, to whichever one is easy for you to watch, to go ahead and make sure that you understand the different parts of the Hajj, inshallah. So without further ado, Sister Rafia, if you are ready, I can start going through these questions. I just want to try to maximize our time and make sure we can try to address as many questions as possible.
Sure.
Okay, perfect. So one of the questions that I'm seeing in many different forms, I'm just going to kind of combine them, is one related to using sunscreen, toothpaste, bug repellent. I know you've already talked about the other types of toiletries, but whether you can use scented versions of these. So even like toothpaste, can you use a scented toothpaste? And then can you use the unscented version of these? But bug repellent, toothpaste, and I think the other thing that I said was sunscreen. Yes.
When you are in ihram, you are going to be using unscented toothpaste, and you are not going to be using, as far as I know, no sunscreen. So no
Okay, so you
sunscreens
cannot
allowed.
use, even if it's unscented, you cannot use it.
Unscented, let me double check with you. Let me I will post it on the group chat. I don't want to give a wrong answer, because as far as I know, you can't use
Okay.
sunscreen. But I could always double
Okay.
check, and I could put it on the group chat.
Okay. Thank you. And what I'm doing is I am pulling together like a frequently and asked question kind of document to post in all the groups. So inshallah, if you can find out that information, I'm sure men and women both can benefit from that information, inshallah. So we can go put it in that FAQ doc that I'll share with all the groups and group
So
guides,
sunscreen,
inshallah.
if it were to be allowed, it would just be the unscented one. So we're only talking about the unscented sunscreen, just to clarify
Right.
for the audience.
Of course. And then the next question is, can you trim, cut, hang nails or dead skin in a state of ihram?
Yeah, if it's bothering you, then yes, you can get rid of dead nails, or you can trim it and get rid of it if it's bothering you.
Okay. And someone is asking, are we allowed to use wet wipes for wudu in case there's no water available? Are we allowed to pluck facial hair?
You are not allowed to pluck facial hair. You are only in ihram for 5 days. So if you want to get rid of any facial hair, you do that before you get into ihram. When you are in ihram, you're not allowed to pluck any type of hair. So that includes, even pubic hair. Remove all of that before you get into ihram. Because you're going to get into ihram most likely twice. You're going to get into ihram before you fly out to Saudi Arabia, to remove all the hair then. And if you are a person who grows hair back really quickly, or if you're there for a long time, then of course before the 8th of the Hijjah, when you take a shower, 7th night or 8th morning before going into ihram, you can remove all your hair then too, right before you get into ihram on the 8th of the Hijjah. And you said another question, Noor? What was the first part of that question?
Oh, I'm sorry. It was two questions by the same person. The first part of the question was if you were allowed to use wet wipes for wudu in case
wet wipes.
There's no.
No, you're not allowed to. You have to use water. And if there's no water within a mile, then you make tayammum.
Oh, perfect. And the next question is, the men have to go at a faster pace during the first 3 times of the. This is in regards to tawaf. But my plan is to hold on to my husband so we don't lose each other. What should I do?
I answered that during the session.
Oh, got it. My apologies.
No, it's okay.
The next question is, Okay, so this is in regards to whether she's on the period and she if she would be able to assist her mom for the waf and sa'i. I think you did cover what to do in the case of a haji getting their period, but just because it's a
Yeah,
little
they can't
technical, I
enter the
just want.
masjid. So if
Okay.
her mother will need to be helped by an aide, by a tawaf aide. So there's plenty of aides that are there who you can pay, and they will help push your. I mean, if she's an elderly woman and she needs to be in a wheelchair, there are plenty of people who will be able to push her. You being on your period cannot enter the masjid. Somebody else needs to help your mother.
Of course. The next question here, I'm sorry, I'm just also letting people in who are coming in, was actually regarding the face mask. So this is like for the purpose of like protection from diseases, not necessarily like a niqab, um, whether that is permissible.
Um, as far you can't cover your face. So you are getting vaccinated before going to Hajj. You even when I went this time during Umrah, I didn't see anyone with a face mask on. Even though everyone there's you can't do 6 feet distancing. But yeah, you can't cover your face when you're in ihram. But I could always
Okay.
ask to
So
for medical
just for this
reasons, like if
question,
a person.
yeah, not to like contradict in any way. Of course, you have much more knowledge on these topics than I do. Just since I have been, following along with some of our sessions, where some people are saying that it is allowed for the purposes of, like those who may be susceptible to disease. Um, but
Yeah.
I guess we can do, it's certain things just to even let our listeners know, is you know difference of opinion is out there where multiple people might have different opinions on this. So yeah, I
Yeah, so
mean,
if
if
it's
you
a
want to
health
expand.
concern, there's always concessions. But I will ask, and I will put it on I'll send it to you, and you can put on the frequently asked questions page, inshallah.
Perfect, thank you so much. Okay, and then let's see here. I'm sorry, I'm just going through I'm trying to go in order and make sure I cover the earlier slides for the earlier questions and kind of make sure we get through everything. You already answered the question regarding makeup during ihram. Um, Somebody asked whether you can use sanitizing wipes or hand sanitizer. Like, I guess scented and unscented, if you want to differentiate between those.
I don't know if hand sanitizers come in unscented, but if they do, yeah, that would be fine. Because that's like soap.
Okay. Yeah, so hand sanitizer does come in unscented forms. Um,
Yeah, that's fine.
the next question is, can women wear sneakers while in a so basically shoes that have, I guess, that aren't sandals? Maybe there's some confusion with the
Um,
men's requirement.
your feet can be covered. Women's feet can be covered. It's
Yeah.
men whose feet have to be exposed.
Okay. Yep. Um, and let's take a look here. We've already answered the questions related to wipes. Um, so one person is asking about whether you would be praying Qasr Salah throughout.
Yes, you'll be praying qasr. Unless you're praying behind the imam of the masjid, then you'll be
Mhm.
praying whatever he's praying.
Okay, perfect. And sorry, it's just many questions are asked multiple times, so I'm just reading through them to make sure we're not answering the same questions multiple times. Um, but it looks like most of these things have been covered. Some of them are logistical questions. Sisters, if you are asking questions related to packages, stuff like that, again, that will be covered by your guides in your group chats or during our logistical, seminars where we'll go through those things. Um, I think you've already covered what to do if you get your period in between your Hajj. I just want to confirm that that's true, or if you want to Were you able to go over what to do? So,
Well,
for example, this person is asking, do we still need to do sa'i if we are on our period? When like I made the intention to do umrah, I did my tawaf, or I made the intention, and now I have to do my sa'i, but I got my period. What would I do in that case?
but okay, so she entered a state of ihram, um, but she got her period before she could perform tawaf. Is that the question?
So tawaf isn't mentioned. It says before sa'i, before going to Safa and Marwa. So I'm assuming tawaf is done and sa'i isn't done.
Okay, so if a woman performs tawaf already and then she gets on her period before moving on to Safa Marwa, she can still perform. She can still do Safa Marwa, even on her period.
Okay. Okay. Somebody is talking about whether they can use this question. Someone's asking like if I heard there might be bed bugs, so can we like spray, like any bed bug spray to kill those? But in my experience, that hasn't been an issue. I don't know, Sister Rafi, if you've had experience with bed bugs there. I've never heard of that before. So
I haven't either, but if a person did have a personal experience with that, you can take you can take that because those they once they latch onto you, they could spread. They can come back. So you can use bed bug spray.
okay, so an agent basically that would be killing those bed bugs. So I guess the question is related to killing living things in the state of
Yeah,
Ihram.
because that's something a little bit more like the consequence to that is a lot more. It's not like a fly or a mosquito, you know what I mean? Because it can spread, like if it gets onto you, if it gets onto your clothes or it gets into your belongings.
Got it. Then I think we've already covered perfume, so the usage of ither. What we can we
So ither
do?
can be
So
applied before going into ihram.
okay, perfect. This is a good one. What if I want to use medications that are like the kind you can rub on, but that may have a scent to them? Like, if you have this specific person mentioned fibromyalgia, but people have different pains and aches, especially with all the walking we'll be doing. And if they have like a pain in their knee or back and they want to rub a salve, is that permissible?
So medicine is typically allowed. Anything to
Okay.
do with treatment is typically allowed. Um, but I would love to ask a mufti just to be. So she's talking about like dengue. I'm assuming dengue and icy hot, these types of balms. Is
Exactly.
that what the question is?
Exactly.
So
Yeah, I'd be.
I would love to ask that just to be because that's a very specific they're very specific types of creams and they're very pungent. The smell is very very strong.
And
So
it
I
may
would
not
ask.
be right, and your level of need for them may vary. Like if someone has
Yeah.
a specific disease that may cause them a lot of pain versus like somebody who's just having aches because of the amount of
Yeah.
physical activity. So if you could please find out for us, I personally would be um, very interested in that answer and ruling as well. Um, so there's also these mosquito repellent bracelets. So you put them on. There's no, it's not like a spray or anything. You just put on this physical bracelet that's supposed to keep mosquitoes away. Are those permissible?
Yes.
Okay. Are using eye drops permissible?
Yes.
Okay. Um, I apologize in advance if you've already answered this question, but I did not hear the reply to it, and I see this question in the chat. For women who are on their periods, can they compensate for tawaf al ifada with dam if staying for a limited time in Makkah? Is that necessary? And
Um, so they can, if they're not going to perform the tawaf, then they can pay the penalty for it. But then the first option would be to perform the tawaf. Perform tawaf ifada, even on your period, perform it. So
okay,
the concession
that
is
is an
given. Yeah, the concession is given for
Understood.
tawaf ifada specifically, that if you know that you're not going to have enough time to perform it afterwards, and that's, you're going to be going home very soon, then you would perform it even on your period. But that's just for
Got
tawaf
it.
ifada, not for tawaf wida, al wida.
Okay, got it. Sorry, and I'm just filtering through the questions as we're talking to see if a lot of
I
these
see a lot of
again.
hand sanitizer questions. I'm going to ask because
Yeah,
there's some people are saying alcohol and things that I would just like to ask Mufti
yeah.
and get
There
like
is
a whole list
alcohol.
out.
Of course. There is alcohol in hand sanitizer, that's for sure. Now, whether that affects the ruling, if you could find out for us, um, I think that would be beneficial
Yeah,
to
I mean
all.
alcohol and
I
perfume.
Yes, sorry.
Um, Yeah, so I don't think that's a problem. Alcohol and toiletries is not a problem. It's the main thing is like the scent, because when you're in ihram, it's supposed to resemble like like a simple life. It's supposed to remind you of death. The ihram is supposed to remind you of your own kafan, your own funeral shroud. So that is why there are so many restrictions as to what you can or cannot apply, and that's why Islam is very strict with being unscented. Because yeah, obviously there's a need for hygiene. You need to still stay clean, but it has to be unscented because it's supposed to really remind you of like death and um, your mortality, basically, and the simplicity of life. So that is why the Sharia is kind of strict on that. But I like I said, hand sanitizer, I will ask, inshallah.
Of course. There's some questions here that I think are more general, and I'm going to save those for, we are going to do another English session about the Hajj overall, so those type of questions can be covered in those, and then we already have those saved as well in our YouTube playlist. So I just want to go ahead and skip over those just because they're general and we can get to them in that in those seminars. So it looks like we pretty much went through everything that was related to the issues, specific to females. We're already running over time, so I don't want to take too much of your time, Sister Rafia. Um, but I'm just doing one quick overview of the last couple messages, especially, people are kind of reposting their questions multiple times, so it makes it a little bit more
Yeah,
difficult to
we definitely should make like like take all these questions and we'll answer them and we'll post it on the group chats, inshallah.
Yeah, so it is a project I've started, but we've had like 6 seminars, and there's other logistical things happening, so I haven't been able to get that all together just yet. Um, Lip gloss would come under the case of makeup as well, I
Makeup.
think. Yep. So
And then someone asked a
I'm going.
question about fasting. It's not recommended. It's not sunnah to fast on Arafah day for Hajis.
Yeah. So I think we're all set with all the questions related to women specifically. There's a lot of questions, sisters, that you're asking that were already answered either during the presentation or by Sister Rafia during this Q&A portion. Perhaps you missed it when it was covered, but